He was angry that I said on television that he watches a lot of television, which he only knew because he was watching television. But to him, the idea that your talk about how much TV he watches, to him gets at you're questioning his intellect. I had a conversation with somebody who was talking about another candidate running for office this cycle. I'm not going to say who, but they said, Trump sees himself in that person. They're both working class people, who have been frowned on by the elites. And Donald Trump is not a working class person, but he has convinced all of these people. He grew up as a son of privilege for whom a lot of things were hardwired. And I think that he came to just expect that was always the way it was going to be. So if you grow up believing, and I think there are also just factors that are unique to his, psyche and psychological makeup and so forth. And I'm just going to put that aside because I'm not a psychiatrist, but in terms of just why somebody would always believe things are going to work out for them, that was a part of why, was they always had. His father always sort of propelled him forward, even when his father was undermining and in Ivana Trump's words, brutal as a father. If you grow up thinking that you're taken care of no matter what you do, you feel like you can get away with a lot. And I think that's a big piece of it.
I played Rhoda Barrett, right? That's from early, and I played the Letterman thing's 87. Yeah. He's also on Oprah and Larry King in the late 80s, 87, 88. He's on talking about maybe running for president. That's out there in the ether, right? Yep. Again, too iconic. Again, maybe the young people listening to this podcast don't know who Larry King are. They know who Oprah.
That's I am increasingly finding that the touchstones
right, but
are
Oprah,
not known,
but they still know Oprah though. They still know Oprah. So, but that's again to your point about him being rare at that point, before the total veneration of the plutocrat class happened, the Jeff Bezos and the Mark Zuckerberg and the Bill Gates, all that. He's the guy who can get invited on Oprah Winfrey and David Letterman and Larry King and sit down with Rhoda Barrett, all that stuff, right? And there's something about his that egregiously outside, the shamelessness is part of the core of it, right? And the willingness to get the shit kicked out of him and just keep going. And that's a very outer borough kind of thing, not working class, but very outer borough.
But outer borough, no, that is true. And it's also, but I do think part of it is it's going to work out for me no matter what. So if I tune it out, and I think that you touched on this, but I think it's worth exploring a little more. He doesn't process news coverage the way other people do. To your point about getting the shit kicked out of you, he stories that would have other people, either hiding under a blanket or completely ashamed. He loves, he does not. It's all attention. It's all fame. Now there are certain stories he does not like. Things questioning his worth, right? Tim O'Brien. Can talk about that for a long period of time. Yes. Neil Barsky, who was at the Wall Street Journal, did enormous reporting about Trump's financial problems, and Trump went after Barsky with a vengeance. What has made Trump the angriest in my coverage over time, in my experience, and he's gotten angry about a number of stories. He was angry when I reported that Mark Meadows cried in the White House, because that's a weakness thing. He was angry, and then he stood at the podium and attacked me for 2 minutes in the briefing room. He was angry that I said on television that he watches a lot of television, which he only knew because he was watching television. But to him, the idea that your talk about how much TV he watches, to him gets at you're questioning his intellect. And then things that question his strength or his manhood. So that's, the bunker, that he went to the bunker when he was in the White House in 2020 during the protests. Just things like that.
On this week's Hell and High Water podcast, Maggie Haberman, the author of a new book, Confidence Man, The Making of Donald Trump and the Breaking of America. 2 parts, Haberman, Heilemann, Hell and High Water. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.